Large cappuccino. Orders up.
All right, everybody, welcome back.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
Just gonna look at me instead of saying hi.
It's hi to the camera
Hello.
for all our wonderful viewers out there. Welcome back to the Athlete Cafe.
Yes, welcome back. Back with another riveting topic. Hopefully everyone's, I know I said this last time, but hopefully everyone's summers are continuing to go well. I know we love the summertime and we're excited it's here.
Yes.
So we are excited to talk today a little bit about the idea of staying motivated in the summer, which I feel like there's a lot of different ways to go with that and to kind of touch on a few different things. So hopefully we kind of circle back to all of the things we want to get to. But I think just knowing a majority of athletes, aside from like some of those actual summer sports like baseball or even AAU basketball type stuff, I mean, obviously you're in your seasons, but more for athletes who are in a more training period or like an off season or preseason. Hopefully some of this info will resonate with you and kind of help you think of things a little differently. But thought we could start off with our own personal experiences with summer seasons within our sports and kind of go from there. So somebody want to go first?
You want to go?
Ladies first.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, well, softball was mostly a summer sport, so I was usually playing all summer long. It was our busy time where we were usually at a tournament every weekend or every other weekend on the road, practicing all that. So, I mean, I think sometimes it was still hard to maintain motivation over the summer, especially when your friends that maybe aren't playing a sport are going out and doing things or going on vacations and hanging out, and you might be missing out on some of that. So that was definitely tricky at times, just staying motivated and staying kind of locked into what we were doing. But I think for me, it was just like I loved being out there and playing. So I didn't really struggle with motivation that much. But I guess on the other side, it was hard to also stay motivated for hockey because I still obviously needed to train for that throughout the summer. So trying to find time to mix in a workout or shoot some pucks or whatever it was, aside from my time out on the field playing softball. So like that was a little bit tricky. It was just kind of finding the balance. But I don't know that motivation was ever something I like really struggled with, just because I really did like love being out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Tough to play a ice sport in the summertime.
Yep.
There's the ice.
Yep.
You gotta find it.
You can find it, but it's still usually really warm in the rink, so it's not a great time.
Be like steam.
Yeah.
Like a sauna.
Yep.
Interesting. No, but I think you bring up two good points with that. Like I've definitely already started having some conversations with my athletes about like the balance of like social life and playing your sport. Like so many kids, I've had a couple kids who are like, I'm deciding not to do this type of training because I want to spend more time with my friends. Or I've had some other kids say like, a lot of my friends play sports, so we're all kind of on the same schedule anyway, so it's like we try and find time to do things, but I think it is a harsh balance and kind of that sacrifice as athletes that we make to determine how we can balance the social life with our sport. And I think that's a great point of like you just got to kind of remember why you're doing your sport and what that means to you, and like finding that maybe it's not motivation, but just like reminding yourself that you love being there and that like you're doing this for a specific reason. But I also think like just juggling those two sports can be super tough too. I've had some kids say like, basketball's I'm doing AAU in the summer, but like I still want to make sure I get my soccer skills going. And so it's like you're tired after a tournament, you're tired after practice, you're lifting, you're training. Like when can you fit all that stuff in? So I think like finding that time to schedule out your summer as best you can, like obviously.
For sure.
Depending on rides and when people are available, but like making sure that you do your best to like have a list of the things you want to do, but then also like how am I going to fit all that in so I'm not feeling guilty or I'm not also overworking myself, because it's easy to fall into all of those ruts. But
For sure.
Two very different things there.
Yeah.
Summertime gets hectic for athletes, and across the board there's no more school, right? So you have all this freedom and all this free time, and it's great, and you get to do whatever for the most part. And you have camps, you have tournaments, you have these summer leagues, you have so many different things now that you get put in, and depending on your age, right, then you have to coordinate with your parents, and are you going on vacation for a couple weeks somewhere? How do you then still train if you're away on vacation? Because that's what the summertime's for.
If you need it.
Yeah, so I think to Emily's point about like making a schedule, that's like the first thing that I would always try to do when approaching the summertime, because it would get so hectic. And for me, we'd always spend a couple of weeks down on the Cape, so I wasn't going to be able to go to like the summer practices for tennis or for cross country and training. So I'd have to do it down there. So I'd have to find some family members to like go hit with, and then I'd have to also, you know, motivate myself to run. And the tougher thing too in the summertime, and something we haven't talked about, right? We love the summer because it's hot and we get this weather and we get to go to the beach. You do not want to be training from like probably 11 to 5, right? Those like hours of the day where you now have all that free time. You just kind of should use that time, I think, to relax and enjoy it. And then you have to try to then pick, is it a morning or evening workout that day?
Right.
So I think that's something that's an important piece for people to figure out. And for me, it was always, I would just try to do it first thing in the morning, knock it out, because, you know, if you push it, my thing was if I pushed it back to later, I probably was just going to push it back again and again. And then people, you know, text me and be like, oh, we're going to go to Wendy's and the movies or Chick-fil-A and do this or that. And I was like, yeah, I'd rather do that than go, you know, go run 3 miles or go to the tennis court for an hour and just hit some balls. Like, no, thank you.
Right. But it's also like being honest with yourself of like, okay, how can I structure that? And like, if my friends ask me, do I have the, what's the word? The ability to say no and like go train and say, okay, can we do something else tomorrow? Can we change it up? Or do you know yourself well enough to be like, yeah, I'll just go with them instead and not do the training. Like I have all summer to train, and kind of what is your mentality of that? So I think even too, like figuring out what you want your summer training to be and what it means to you. I know, like, especially in high school, my high school for volleyball, we did stuff like literally starting the day after school for the whole summer, and we would have 2 days of open gyms and workouts. We would do a couple tournaments, and then we had tryouts the first week of August. So those were always in the evening. The gym was hot as heck, and I loved those but hated them at the same time because they were so challenging. But like, I made sure I knew I was doing those twice a week, and then I was also meeting with a trainer twice a week. So that gave me my, like, I knew I worked best with like scheduled events, and volleyball is a little harder to like go out on your own and like do things by yourself. It like really doesn't work that way.
Right.
So having those scheduled workouts or those things, like I knew that was what I needed and what was going to help me get to like my best self by the end of summer for tryouts and for season. So I knew that I didn't have to do a ton extra, and I didn't feel guilty about that. But I know, like, once I got to college, like we all, you know, would be sent home. We would all be in different states doing different things.
Right.
And like, I still went to see the same trainer that I saw in high school, and like doing that 2 to 3 times a week, I felt was enough for me to be in the place I needed to get to for preseason. So it's like I had that kind of routine in my brain, and I knew that like all of that stuff, I could still take the vacations. I could still go hang out with my friends. Like I had the balance there. Was it perfect? No. Was it hard? Yes. But like I knew that I had my schedule stuff out, that I knew what I needed and what got me to where I needed to be.
Nice. I think like a part of that too, when you're like setting your schedule and planning for like what you want to do throughout the summer, is also like setting a goal for the end of summer and like going into season of like, okay, where do I want to be at the end of the summer, and like what do I need to do to get me there? Because like not only will that like help hold yourself accountable, but also like you can kind of like track your progress along the way, right? So that's going to help you stay a little bit more motivated too, and just stick with your training hopefully as the summer goes on.
Yeah, our cross country coach in the summertime give us at the last little day of practice, because you know for runners you do cross country, indoor track, and then outdoor track, and usually the coach is there throughout the entire process with you. But if it wasn't, you'd eventually get this like stack of postcards over the summer, and it would just be to track the mileage down that you would run each day. And just that like accountability piece a little bit, I think was huge, in the discipline, added that discipline piece too, because you want to go do this, right? I don't want to put a 0. I don't want to see that 0 on there. So even if I ran 1 mile, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And then you'd mail those in, and then eventually he would send out like a weekly email chart of like the graph, and then you'd kind of see who's getting close to the 300 mile summer, 500 mile summer. 300 was a water bottle, 500 you get a shirt.
Shirt? Wow.
You get a shirt.
Is it worth it?
I didn't do 500. I did 3. There was 3 something, but it was the highest at the time.
Dang.
And I was like, yeah, it was a lot, and it was like a little bit, somewhat of a competition piece. So it was cool, a little bit like that, but to see it tracked, I think was a good way to kind of keep that motivation up in the summertime. For tennis, like these camps and tournaments, and like all the hours I would hit, or how many serves in a row could I hit, like just tracking stuff like that, just to keep even like the day-to-day practice a little bit more fun and exciting. Mixing up where you're kind of training to, I think, is a really cool piece of the summertime. For cross country, we would train at like a different spot each day. So one day I'd be at like the town beach. The other day I'd be in this place called the desert, which was awful, obviously, right? Desert, summertime,
Yeah.
doesn't sound really fun, right? And then the other day it'd be like a nice park, and it'd be cool, and we'd go at different times, and it was cool and exciting. Another time it was at the like local college, so then you'd get to like meet up with some of like the college runners that would do it too, and then you can kind of get a feel as a junior, senior, like, is this something I want to continue on doing too, which is just a cool piece to summer training. And then for tennis, it was just trying to keep up with the guys and like, oh, does anyone want to go hit, and text in the group chat and stuff like that. So I think that was something that was always cool. Two very different sports too. Like the tennis stuff is usually a little bit more laid back. Like, I like, who wants to go hit for a little bit, and then you go get like coffee or lunch after. And then running, it was no eating beforehand, obviously, because that would be atrocious to run like that. But then like going for the run and then like meeting up afterwards somewhere. Even though we were pretty sweaty, but
Yeah. Something to look forward to. So we can get you through it a little bit.
And that was cool, like just to have different places to go to, but also then like sometimes we do games. Like we were at the desert, we did like capture the flag. Or we were at like this place, Jamestown, we do like this game called flicker ball, which was awesome. And we only did it in the summertime. It wasn't during the regular time of the year. So you had to, that's another piece of like just, I think the environment that coaches and captains, because it dependent on the state, you can't have coaches aren't allowed to, air quotes, allowed to
for a certain amount of hours
that,
or whatever.
Or they could like the main way I think most people do is they have like a camp kind of thing set up. So we eventually had like tennis camp or running camp. Yes, both of those things exist. But like going to those and just like having fun with it and mixing it up too with practices, I think that's the really cool piece with the summertime that you don't get during the school year, because it's after school and then you go to the same facility every single day. And I think that's one of the nicer pieces of like staying motivated is you get to go to these different spots.
For sure. Well, I know we were talking a little bit about it, but like the idea too of like quality versus quantity. I know one specific client sticks out more. It was a couple years ago, but he was in 8th grade at the time, and he was like, I'm going into high school next year. Like, I got to be practicing 6-7 hours a day. Like, I've got to go to this camp and this camp and this camp. And I was like, whoa. 6 hours a day that you're going to be playing basketball. Like, that sounds great. Good for you. But I was like, you are going to never make it through the summer. And he's like, well, if I'm not, then like there's other people who are out there doing it. And I'm getting worse. Like, they're getting better, all this stuff. And it's like, that's the mentality. Like, of course, like that's a thought that probably goes through a majority of people's heads. But like, you have to really figure out, like, what's better for you? Practicing for 6 hours and feeling tired by hour 3 and just like forcing yourself to do it, or giving yourself an hour and a half of quality workout training, call it a day, go home, do some reading, and then go out and shoot later at home, in your driveway. So I think understanding like what, like again, mapping out your summer and the scheduling it all out, but like, playing those games, having the runs, like don't feel like you have to do so much to like make these big jumps by the end of summer, doing stuff that is either given to you or structured out for you, but like not feeling that guilt of not doing enough just because you have more hours in the day.
Totally. Yeah. The important piece I think is like with the hours of the day, like the reason we all also love summertime as athletes and former student athletes is we get to sleep finally. And like incorporating that time in is so crucial.
Yeah, but I think kind of going along with like that too is when we're thinking of like, okay, I need to go out there and like you said, play like 6 hours, that can be so daunting, and like it just makes you not want to do it at all. But like you said, if you can go out there and do like, okay, an hour or like 50 like quality reps, like it can be so much easier to like get off the couch or get out of bed and go do that and know that you'll be done with it, but you'll still accomplish something because they're quality. Because once you hit like you said, hour 3 or like 100 swings off a tee, whatever it is, you start to get fatigued, your reps start to fall apart, your form goes, and that's when you pick up like those bad habits too. So like also being aware of that, like that the tiredness and like those long hours are going to play into the habits that you get to. So like just being intentional about that, right?
Being intentional for sure. And I think too, it's like rest is okay. It's like you have so many more hours that you feel like you have to fill in this time, or like, oh my gosh, I just hung out with my friends for 3 days and I haven't practiced. Like, okay, it's fine. You'll be okay. Like go in the gym tomorrow and do some, maybe a little extra, but like, again, nothing that's killing yourself. But again, knowing that like summertime is that off time to be able to do other things that you can't necessarily do during the school year because you don't have as much time. So I think not not feeling bad or not feeling guilty about those things, and just being intentional with like what it is that you're align with your goals, and being able to find the avenues to do that. Bring your friends with you, do other things, like totally fine.
I think that like quality versus quantity point again. Like I used to teach tennis in the summer times. I was a tennis instructor, and you used to put out like, all right, we're gonna practice serving now, and then you put out this basket of tennis balls, and then the kids would just like sprint and grab like as many and just try to like pop as many over the net as fast as possible. Like and it's like, no, we're gonna stop this. We're gonna have each of you grab 2. You're gonna go to the line or like grab a stack of 10 and set it next to you. That way it was fair and even with everybody. That's a big thing, obviously, you have to worry about. And then like practice with intent, like first serve and then second serve, or do 5 first serves and then 5 second serves, like trying to actually practice with intention. With a lot of basketball players, like that's the biggest thing. They just want to get shots up over the summer. A lot of basketball athletes right now, they're like, I just have to get shots up, like do what Kobe used to do, or do what all like the best people do. Like they wake up, they practice for 2 hours, they get up like 500 shots, and then they'll rest or work out, and then they'll put up another 500 shots, and then like a little break, afternoon lunch, and then put up another 500 shots. And I was like, no. Once again,
another no.
Another no there. No, in capital letters right there. And it's just like, just actually just work on the different spots, right? Like you can, there's other guys, right? Their workouts are just as good, right? They made it there. You don't have to always follow, like, I feel like the best of the best, because that's what people do sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
I've had.
And again, like, that's what they're getting paid to do.
Yeah.
They're like,
True.
There's a whole nother aspect to that. And I don't even know if did Kobe actually do that type of routine? Really? Dang, that's wild.
Roger Federer used to, back when he came back from the knee injury, right? The piece of sleep that's so cool with him is he used to sleep like 12 hours a day post knee surgery, right? He has all, as my coach would say, the hay in the barn. Like he has all the shots. Nothing's going to really change. He's not going to add anything else more. But he'd wake up in the morning, he'd have his first hitting session, and then like his lift, and then he would take a 2-hour nap, and then he would go to the next training session after that nap, and then like family time, all of that stuff important as you are,
For sure.
later in sports and stuff like that, and just in general, I guess, too. And then he would sleep for 10 hours at night, and then like repeat
Do it
that
all
cycle,
again.
do it all over again.
That's
right?
crazy.
To re-reach that height.
But I mean, to add to that, though, like he's sleeping. Like
12
That's
hours.
true.
That's half the day.
It's a lot.
Half the day.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, just again, knowing sleep is I would say I need to take like a class or like a CEU on sleeping, because I feel like it comes up more than I think. But like, I mean, everyone hopefully knows that, sleep is the way that your body recovers the most. I mean, I feel like that says a lot for how much time he puts into that, and like not being worried about not doing enough if he's using half the day to sleep. I mean, not that we're telling anyone to do that, but like.
Well, it's like post his knee surgery and recovery, it's like, all right, we need you to, like, it's not like you need to train more, do this and lift stronger and add all this stuff. It was like the secret that they found out was just to sleep.
Yeah.
And all the science behind that, right? And how it recovers your body and repairs muscle and all of that. So.
Going back, I know obviously, yes, sleep is important, but going back to being intentional with the reps that you're getting to, the really cool thing about that is when you're intentional with your reps over the summer, so whether it's making your shots from a certain point or like putting in hours like on a certain thing that you're struggling with, maybe it's like keeping your head in, hitting a certain pitch, whatever it is, when season then comes and you're struggling with your confidence, like all of our athletes have at some point, you can tap back into, hey, like I put this many hours into this over the summer, like I know that I've worked on this, and like I've put the effort in, like I know I can do it because I've put the time into it. So it all kind of comes full circle, and you can use that experience and those hours that you've put to your advantage to kind of help build that confidence back up, which is pretty cool.
And those habits, like you said, like they're most likely in place, whether you recognize that they're in there or not. They probably are there, and they're working. And it's just like those times where you have those dips, maybe in that confidence, for sure.
Yeah, and it's not about being perfect in the summer and trying to get all those reps in and do it perfectly and all of that. And I think it's, again, just figuring out, defining what your goals are, defining what you want summer to be. And I know, like, I was even thinking about the idea of, like, intrinsic versus extrinsic. So 2 bigger words, but basically internal versus external. What did you say?
I said fancy words, big science words.
Try my best. But internal versus external motivation, right? So even I think that's a good thing at the beginning of summer, of like figuring out, like, on those days when you don't feel like getting up, or you are dragging a little bit to go to practice that day, like what is your why maybe, but then what also is motivating you. So internal motivations are, obviously things that like just align with you in your mind and within your experience. So it's like, are you trying to achieve a certain team by the end of the summer? Are you trying to get a certain skill by the end of the summer? Are you trying to just like feel better about yourself? Like, is there more internal things that like don't have like any tangible type, I guess tangible rewards, yes, in a way, but like you're doing it because it matters to you and that's all that you care about, versus external rewards, which is like, you know, getting a trophy at a tournament, or, you know, having coach give you some accolade verbally or whatever.
Getting the water bottle or the t-shirt if you run
Correct.
305
There you
miles.
go.
External
Correct.
motivation.
Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with either of them, but just knowing what your motivators are and like in certain situations, what are you going to need to lean on? Like maybe there's a day where there is no external motivation that's present and you're like, oh crap, like what the heck do I do? And so it'd be good to lean on some internal motivations because you can control those and you can kind of like figure out how you can formulate it in your brain to say, okay, like if I, you know, get to the end of this, I don't know, I always said to myself too, I'll stop and get some ice cream on the way home. So a little bit of an external motivation, but kind of whatever that is for you, figuring out what matters to you and in what situations you can kind of lean on some of that. So I think whenever I bring that up to some of my athletes when we're talking about motivation, they've never thought of that before. And I've seen 50-50 on what matters more to kids, but I think sometimes that can be helpful too, of just even like your why. Like, why are you showing up to all of these practices? Why are you going the extra mile to try and train on your own? Like, what is your goal? Yes, but also like, why do you care about that? Like, why are you doing it? Are you doing it to try and prove to other people? Are you doing it for yourself to make a certain team? Like, you know, what is your focus and what is your motivation towards that?
Yeah, I think that's really good. Then I think just like thinking of my own experience a little bit, like I said, like the external motivations were like, you know, you get the t-shirt or the water bottle,
Right.
or like, you know, you can go out and like reward yourself with ice cream. For me, it was the Wendy's 4 for $4 times 2. You get 2 of them. Best thing ever. Chicken sandwich, 8 nuggets, all that stuff, obviously. And then you have the internal stuff, right? Like I knew that I was getting to a new level of like an athletic height that I've never gotten to before, and that felt really amazing. Like knowing that I could run that many miles and did that was like just such a like confidence boosting thing, and it led to a lot of great things, making varsity, getting all the other maybe like external and extrinsic rewards, the trophies, the medals and stuff like that. But it was because I was intrinsically, for a little bit before that stopped, motivated to like continue to do it and run and to go to the courts and just hit a lot of tennis balls, hit a lot of serves, whether I had a person or not. If you don't, you know, you get a backboard or you just go in there to serve, which is the most important point in tennis. So always practice your serving. But like that's like the intrinsic stuff, like to just have that good feeling within yourself.
Right.
And it's because you did it. It wasn't because there was something like making you do it, like your parents like
I
paying
was just
you,
gonna say,
or
mom and dad. I've had a lot of
Yeah.
kids lately. I've talked to parents or kids like, oh, dad keeps telling me to go outside and do this, or like, I should go pitch. Like, dad keeps asking me, and I'm like, okay, well, like, you know, you're at a point in life where parents are still helping you like make decisions, helping you figure out like, you know, you may not always want to do the stuff, but it's worth it in the end type of thing. So they're teaching you those lessons. But I was like, you've got to find out what's going to get you out there, because it's obviously not mom or dad right now, and that's okay. But like figuring out, is there an intrinsic motivation? And if there's not, then okay, what is not doing that certain thing going to do? I was talking to one of my pitchers the other day, and she's like, dad keeps telling me to go outside, and I don't want to. I'm like, okay, so if you don't pitch, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, are you willing to go into the game without having any practice? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay.
Own it.
Okay.
Go for it then, see what happens. So figuring out where that comes from, and yeah, I think parents are the biggest extrinsic motivators that usually make people a
Usually,
little frustrated.
if you do it, you don't have to do your chores. If you do it, here's $20. If you do it, here's this, right?
Well,
And not
and
that
if
that's
that's happening,
that's not
it's
bad,
tough.
but like trying to find ways to maybe, you know, as a parent, you know, you could go out there and do it with them, right? All right, let's go. We're gonna do this, because you know, your kid's gonna go with you because you can make them.
Right. Will it be the best effort? Maybe, maybe not. But I think understanding, and I don't know, it's different probably for every kid. But I think finding those internal versus external, and I would say like especially for like my middle school, high school kids listening, like figuring out how to find those intrinsic things, because especially if you have aspirations of playing in college, even like past when, you know, we just talked about whenever your sport career ends, like once it's over, there's gonna be no one out there telling you to go do anything, which is probably exciting in a lot of ways, but like you're gonna have to find those different things that you feel motivated for, and finding that intrinsic piece will be really helpful. You can do it as young as possible.
Yeah, that's funny. I think like thinking back now to like my own summers and my own sport experience, like I was definitely the type of kid where like the more mom and dad asked me to go pitch in the backyard or go hit or whatever it was, the least like the less I wanted to do it. Like the more times they asked me, the more angry I would get, and I was just like, no, like I'm not doing it. So going back to kind of like scheduling and planning, and with your parents playing into that too, I think that's a great conversation to have between the parent and the athlete. Like maybe go talk to mom and dad about like, hey, like it really bugs me and makes me not want to do it when you guys keep nagging me on this. Like maybe don't word it like that, but like just having that conversation of like, let's come up with a plan of like, okay, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going out and getting these reps. You can come, or like just having that goal and coming up with that plan and that schedule with them. So that way it's not a daily battle of like, did you go out and do it yet? Like, are you going to do it? Whatever it is, like you have that plan in place. So like maybe they give you a reminder on that day, but it's not every day fighting that battle, because that's just not going to be fun for anybody.
Everyone's prepared.
Yeah.
You can anticipate it. Like, you know, mom and dad are not going to say anything about it. You have control. Like, it's good in all different ways.
Yeah.
Make it fun, you know, make a schedule.
Yep.
Enjoy it. Go to the different places, find the different reasons for doing it, like all the good stuff that you can kind of do.
Yeah.
I'd wake up, go for a run, eat breakfast, play video games for a couple hours, go back outside, like shoot hoops in my driveway, go back inside, play video games, go hang out with people.
Yeah.
And is a perfect kind of little off-season day, and then you get to sleep in.
Right. I was going to say, again, it's like there's no pressure to make it what it needs to be. Sometimes there's organized things that you have to be at. Sometimes you got to figure out how to do it on your own. But, like, I'd say the biggest thing with summer is just making sure that, like, you are balancing that fun with the work that you're putting in. And just, I think that time management can be, you know, every kid looks forward to summer, but then you get there and you're like, oh, God, now I got to do all this stuff. Or, like, how am I going to fit all this in? Or, like, you know, I actually don't have as much time as I thought, and it becomes more daunting. So I think just understanding those motivators for you, the whys, and then being excited too. Like, it's fun.
Summer. It's nice
summer.
out.
Yeah.
It's warm.
Hopefully all of you guys are going on vacations. Hopefully there's little things that you could do with friends, and like just having that time, and like, I don't know, just having the control of it to the best of your ability too. It's empowering, hopefully. But
Definitely.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Any other thoughts on?
Anything else with summer training?
Maybe finding like somebody to keep you accountable to, if it's not mom and dad or a friend. I think that can be really helpful too. Like obviously some sports like tennis, you might need to have a teammate that you can go out and play with, but maybe just having somebody, whether they're a teammate or not, maybe it's just like one of your friends that you want to go to the gym with and work out with. Just having somebody that can ask you like, hey, you want to go work out, or you want to go get these reps in. That can be huge too. Somebody from the outside just in it with you and just making it more fun.
Having a pal.
Yeah.
Well, I think off that too then, like goal setting, and that can also hold you accountable if you don't have those maybe like people to push you, because it's tougher in the summertime.
For sure.
Everyone's away, camps, traveling, whatever it is. It's not like you see the same type of people every day. So like setting those goals and like, I want to do this. I want to hit like 100 serves every single day, or I want to be able to run like a sub 7-minute pace for like 3 miles or whatever it is, or just like trying to set those like incremental goals, just like having a really good kind of ways to track the process for you. Like I said, like our coach gave us these postcards, right, that tracked us, right. I hated writing 0 4 days in a row. I couldn't do it. So there'd be a 1 in there that might have lied and wrote a 1. Maybe. Possibly.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Be honest.
I would say kind of off of that, like my big takeaway would be of like making sure you're not comparing yourself to other people, especially not to other people that you don't actually know what they're doing. Because especially with social media, a lot of people love to post like all of their lifts, or like, oh, I'm out doing this, or I'm out doing this. And it gives you this image that they're like doing so much more than they actually might be doing. So I think with social media, I mean, summertime's hard. Try and stay off the phone, try and not look at all that stuff, but like just really be focused in on your process and like trust the work that you're doing, and the routines, the schedules, the lifts, the workouts, the camps, whatever it is. Like, don't feel like you have to be just like so-and-so, or you have to do as much as so-and-so, because that person might be doing too much and they might be burnt out by the end of the season, end of summer, and not be ready for tryouts or not be ready for all this because they're just so dang tired. Like there's always a flip side to it, and I think just focusing on your path and seeing your progress based on those goals, easier said than done, but I know it can be hard not to be just, there's a good competitive piece. You know, I always remember with like my like open gyms with all my varsity team, like we were all fighting for our spots and doing our stuff, but it wasn't like, you know, a horrible comparison type thing of like they're doing more than me or like I need to be doing this. It's more of just like it was at the open gyms that we felt that. So making sure you're not doing the comparison game when you don't actually know what people are doing outside.
I was reading research on that because that's what I do now for fun. And it said that like whole thing of like for a good off-season summer training program, and this might be for coaches listening out there, like setting it where it's not this competitive environment. And that's kind of the two different experiences I've had with tennis. It was a competitive thing, right? If you're not out there, this person's beating you on the ladder and getting ahead of you. For running, it's a very similar thing. It's a ladder. There's a ranking where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then like it wasn't like that though. It didn't feel like that because our coach put in a lot of good standards as captains. You know, eventually like myself and the other ones, we set it up where it was just like, we're going to go run for fun here. Like if you want to come, and then we're going to go get food after. And it was just like a lot more enjoyable that way. And not that the tennis one wasn't enjoyable, but like just for coaches creating that environment where you have a lot of like, you know, it's just like going to do it and having fun and enjoying it versus like making sure it's like this thing where it's like you need to be already the best 3 months before our season started.
Right.
Yeah, I think hockey's kind of similar in that too, where like summer's usually either like open ice or like just skill work or like a lot of 3-on-3. Like you can find a lot of 3-on-3 hockey camps, which is like the most fun because you just get to go out there and be creative. And that's like the most important time of summer, I think, is to be able to get out there and just mess around, try out different things that you wouldn't try out in a game and just get comfortable doing things differently than you normally do, because maybe you'll find something that you're really good at or a play or something that works. That's just a lot more fun than being stressed and competitive and all of that. So,
and that's what the summertime's for. Right?
Yeah.
Like having and trying those things, because, you know, when you get into the season, it's all structured practices. There's not really that room for that creative fun time sometimes.
Right.
So,
yeah, no, it's a great point. I like that a lot. All good things, and I think all hopefully helpful points that maybe people have thought about, but just can kind of be more intentional with as you're actually going through your summer. But hopefully everyone's having a great summer, and hopefully everyone is staying motivated and having fun and getting better. But I don't know. Yeah,
that's all we got.
Go Celtics, Game 4 tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Go for the sweep.
This will be out way after that, so we'll be curious to see how it all goes. But yes.
Yeah. And get ready for the next episode of Mental Breakdown. We get to finally break down the Wimbledon final. I know everyone's excited out there for it.
Michael's really excited.
I'm excited. I had a lot of bargaining in that one.
Yes. So exciting new things coming to the podcast, some more shorts and mini episodes, more with Mental Breakdown, where Braden and Michael will take different big sports events and show clips to kind of highlight the mental side of different aspects.
The mental side of the sport. And it might not just be Braden and I. We might have some FOPs on there, friends of the pod. So
oh boy, that's a new one.
Get ready.
What does that even mean? I don't even know.
Friends of the pod, FOP.
I know, but who are our friends?
You guys.
Each
just
other.
Us? Okay. I didn't know if you meant other people. I was like, okay, this is new.
I guess we can call it COP, co-workers of the pod. I forgot friends. So.
Whatever.
This is a weird
No,
idea.
I like friends. That's good. I just didn't know where you were going with that. Nice. So stay tuned for some new stuff. And if anyone has any questions or any comments, please feel free to comment below. But spread the word about the podcast. If you ever enjoy any of our episodes, feel free to send to friends, or I don't know, just look at all of our social media, hit us up on there as well if you have any questions or comments, and we'll see you next time.
If you like what you're listening to, be sure to follow the Athlete Cafe on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can find us wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts.